Hello, everybody. I am James Detroit. I do appreciate you spending time listening to me, my opinions, my worldview. And because the subscribers are over 50, we do seem to have a base of interest. And I hope that I can, and my intentions are that I can continue to increase that base and continue to provide value to you. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you in advance for sharing this with somebody else. So we are on special location, I guess I would call it, right? So what do we have? We have a couple of things that I want to try to cover in sort of a recap. Let's talk about the mask situation. So if we think for 1 second that the diaper that they're asking us to put on our face is going to make a difference. I see that there are some people that are commenting on the feed about how certain people should be wearing it. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's if you're sick, if you don't feel well, then stay home. That I would agree that we should have learned that through this process. But if we are going to believe that now all of a sudden in 2020 and beyond, that doctors' offices need to be wearing the masks, that walking through a hospital anywhere, you need to have a mask on, then I would say that's stupid that the Western medical trained institutions just figured this out in 2020. Are you serious? Let's look back at Dr. Fauci talking about as the guy, Americans not needing to wear a mask in public or anywhere. Oh, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, he was saying that because he didn't want the people that really truly needed it, the health officials, the health people in the health sector, they are going to need those masks. We were going to have a shortage. He could foresee that. That's the brilliance of Dr. Fauci. He could see that if I speak, people are going to listen. We don't want them hoarding all the masks. Then why haven't you been wearing one all of your life, Dr. Fauci? Could it be it's because it impedes your airways? It's one of our first lines of defense against building immunities. The human immune system. You want to think you're God, Dr. Fauci, and all of the rest of Western medicine. You want to think you can genetically change human beings, that you can create your own first, I think it was lambs, and then all of a sudden you're going to start. You want to think that you can do everything, but you're not God. The human immune system is still today, undefeated, the greatest virus and bacteria fighter on the planet. Now, have there become super viruses and super bacteria that we need assistance with? Yeah, that's true. The advent of penicillin, and I did a video on that. Okay, great. So God breathes life into us, creation in his likeness, and then he feeds all of this innovation. What I have a hard time with is when you lie to me about everything else that I know to be true, and I'm sure some people would consider me right now just babbling, like, what are you talking about, James? Let's go backwards just 18 months so we can try to figure this out. What we now know is that SARS-CoV-2, the COVID-19 virus, a respiratory pathogen, hit our shores sometime in the fall of 2019, late summer, early fall of 2019. Whether it was August, September, October, we don't know for sure. We know this because antibodies were already found in blood samples, and they knew they were there but they didn't talk about it for a year. But those blood samples were gathered in November and December of 2019. And in order to have antibodies, that means they must have been exposed, and it was either a 3 to 4 week or a 6 to 8 week period. So whatever you want to believe, what that television is telling you, you can. But because you're tuned in here, I want to recap the facts. So the pathogen was already on our shores in the fall, late fall, early winter of 2019. And yet, when you started to see things happening in the Wuhan, in and around the Wuhan area, and you started to see something happening, a lot of people dying, there was, a million cell phones, the signal just went away within a month. There was a whole bunch of stuff that was like really disturbing. And you still had Dr. Fauci talking about in December and in January of 2020 and in February of 2020, the worst flu season that we were going to experience in a long time. Now, he wasn't saying it was going to be the Spanish flu of 100 years earlier. He wasn't even saying it was going to be the Hong Kong flu of 1969. He wasn't saying that it was going to be as bad as 1976. But remember what we did in 1976. We had a really bad flu outbreak, and they decided they were going to start vaccinating people for the flu. And it seriously hurt. Tens of thousands of people were either seriously injured or killed because of the reactions to that. And whoa, hey, let's back off on this. And then Dr. Fauci, in the 1st of March, in an interview on 60 Minutes, stated that people shouldn't be running around wearing masks. If it makes you feel better, that's fine, but it's not going to do anything. Now, again, you're going to say, well, he needed to do that because he had to protect the medical institutions to be able to get the PPEs. There was already a shortage. It didn't matter. It did not matter what he was saying. What he was actually sharing was what he really believed to be true. And then it became political. Now, at the same time, if you back up just a little bit, these meetings were taking place, and President Trump was told, hey, you can't shut down travel from China. You just can't do it. And he did. He said, no. I'm listening to this guy over here. You guys are telling me that you're the experts. And this guy over here, you tell me his model is what we're supposed to believe in. And he's saying that 2.5 to 5 million people are going to be dead. We need to shut this thing down right now. Travel. We need to shut travel down. So he becomes labeled as racist, xenophobic, bigoted, whatever words that they start throwing out there, all of the little narrative things on the television set. And then you had, over the course of February and even into March, you had the elected officials in areas like Pelosi in San Francisco saying, come on down to Chinatown, it's fine, come on down, come on. In New York, listen, come on down, we're New Yorkers, okay, we're tougher than everybody else, okay, we're New Yorkers. Cuomo and Blasio, whatever his name is, Dumbo, really, is what I'd call him, telling people to come on out. And then they go 180. They flip the script. And what it reminds me of, because the whole time, what you heard in different circles from the left was never let a crisis go to waste. Never let a crisis go to waste. And I remember seeing those interviews with Fauci talking about, well, it's a known fact that this president's going to experience a pandemic in his first term. And I hear Bill Gates' interview talking about, well, SARS-CoV-1, you didn't pay attention to, but you're going to pay attention to SARS-CoV-2. Now, you can say that I'm making stuff up right now, which I'm not. I've never once lied to you. You say, well, did you verify? James Detroit, did you verify that information? I watched the video. Over and over and over again. I have watched these things happen. I remember them in my head. And I'm going to give you a couple other examples. During 8 years, the Obama administration, I saw in 3 different times, then President Barack Obama say this. I think everybody's in favor of common sense gun laws, that automatic and semi-automatic weapons should be outlawed. I think everybody is in favor of that. I think it's just common sense. And it's that little word, semi-automatic. Why? Automatic weapons already are outlawed, except for a very specific few people. You already have more books, more gun laws on the books than you can enforce anyway. So fast forward in his time as well, and you had the BP oil crisis in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, you can look this up, and there is going to be two different storylines, just like there's two different storylines as to who killed Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. No one in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s inner circle, his kids alive today, do not believe that James Earl Ray shot him. But if you look it up, there's two different narratives. The official, what they tell us, and then what people believe to be the truth, even though they don't have all the answers, but they just know that something's not right. Something's not right with that story. And so when you look up the BP oil spill, and I remember the timeline on this, not the specific dates, but I'm going to give you the ballpark. It was either in late March or early April when the leak first occurred on that offshore oil rig. And BP has the ability, their engineers, they know it, they have the ability to go down and fix it. But in the protocol, you have to contact the EPA to get permission to go down and not let it leak anymore. I don't know about any of you, but this sounds like just complete government bureaucracy BS. That's the thing. Okay, yeah, we're leaking oil into the Gulf of Mexico. We can fix it, but we got to call you first and get the sign off so that we can go down and do it. So the EPA then has to send somebody down, which they delayed. In the meantime, more and more people find out about this. Barack Obama, I watched him, then President Barack Obama, field questions on this in two different times. One in later April, one in early May. And both times his response was, "Yeah, no, we've been updated on that. It's really no concern. It's really no concern." And then he waits until the end of May until this oil slick becomes so gigantic that it has to be a big deal. And then he shuts it all down and uses that as an example of, see, we just can't have offshore drilling. We just have to shut everything down. The elimination of fossil fuels is what we have to get to. Do you see how they make it to where they control, even we can have a wonderful outcome right now with a very small amount of effort, but no, they never want to let a crisis go to waste. And so they make it as bad as possible so that they then can force us to say, will you help us, please? Will you help us? I don't need their help, that kind of help. And this is not about just the left. This is not about an R versus a D. If you've been paying attention to me, there is plenty of blame to go with both of these R's and D's. And one of the really great things that we have now become more aware of is how shall I say this? Our enlightenment in 2020 has given us not just 2020 vision, but we now have a lot more insight. Yeah, the mainstream media is still going to say that I'm a conspiracy theorist, that everything I share with you is not verified. The fact checkers on this channel very well might not even let this video become uploaded because it's against their policy of unverifiable or non-factual things. You could say, if you were going to argue against me, you say, well, that's just your opinion, James Detroit. My opinion is based on fact. I'm giving you that timeline. So I'll recap on the mass. So all of this time, we all could have been more safe for Western medicine, which again, if you really think Western medicine's trying to save people's lives, I think I'll refer to you one more time to the 100-year lie. And Fitzgerald puts it down on paper. Here's the thing. I encourage every one of you, if you're anywhere close, and if this was a big enough deal, I would meet you somewhere to have an on-air discussion, critical thinking discussion. If you really think you could prove me wrong in some of these things, embarrass me in front of the world, I'll take that challenge. because everything I've given you is based on fact. And if you read the 100-Year Lie, if you read the Great Barrington Declaration in regards to herd immunity it's not a strategy for a pandemic. It's scientific fact, and it's not politicized. And here's another little interesting thing. We this race to vaccinate. Every time you turn on that television, it keeps telling you, oh, President Trump did a horrible job. President Biden's trying to do better, but there are still states that are lacking in being able to vaccinate. Vaccinate for what? A pathogen that is 99.99% non-deadly. A pathogen that is 99.99% non-deadly. But our response to this is killing more people. And what if some of these conspiracy theorists out there, because it's only a conspiracy today, it's only science fiction today. And we'll talk more about that later. But what if some of these ideas that are just asking the same questions I am, why do they want to get this vaccination out there? An mRNA genetically, it changes your genetic code. Why do they want so badly to get this in the hands of so many people? Because they're worried about people might get sick and die? How has that ever been a concern to this Western medical model? Now, if you're in medicine and you think I am being disrespectful to your chosen profession, I'm not in any way. I respect, there are some doctors and some nurses that I know that I respect because I know them and I know that they are in the business to try to help people. I respect them. I respect you when you make that choice. I'm talking about the bigger umbrella. I'm talking about the bureaucracy that you can't see. I'm talking about you are thinking to yourself, something's just not right here. I remember when a friend of mine, I've known him for more than 15 years, John once said to me 15 years ago, well, I think they have a cure for cancer. And I said, well, that's that. You know, I've been to college. I have a bachelor's degree. I know that if it was possible that they have a cure for cancer, I would have learned about it, even though I didn't study medicine, but I've been in and around the college campus. I mean, I'm an American citizen. I'm a college educated. I'm a very successful person, and there's a cure for cancer, and I don't know about it, and I'm 40 or almost? No, that's not possible. Another one of my maxims, the first lie we tell is to ourselves. It's really how sin is allowed to grow and become the most, a powerful aspect of our life and how we live. It's the first lie we tell us to ourselves when we see something and, well, we've believed it. So I couldn't have been wrong my whole life. So that must be wrong. You must be wrong. I think John was a lot closer to the truth than I am. And John was about 15, 18 years older than me. And I discounted that comment. I appreciate that comment even more today than then. The book, The 100-Year Lie, is an example. It's the reason why we make our own toothpaste and or we buy toothpaste that does not have fluoride in it. I ask this question often about the vaccinations in general, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer as much as I am. Why don't we check and see what it is we're putting into our bodies? But I ask this question, why aren't all the Amish dead? You know, in Michigan, we have a bunch of Amish communities in Indiana, and there's Amish communities in Pennsylvania, and they're spread out, but I'm fascinated by that community, by that structure of society that it's to me, it looks good, it looks wholesome, and it looks like they're getting a lot of things right. And I believe that many of them do not vaccinate the same way that we do, and yet they still interact. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we were in Shipshewana, my first time ever in that particular Amish community, and I was amazed at the best chicken ever, right? And I'm thinking, they're interacting with all of us, and viruses spread so easily. How are they not all dead? Well, similar, people that don't get fluoride pills, they used to give fluoride pills, I just found out recently. Wow, that blows my mind. That don't continuously put fluoride. Where did fluoride come from? And I'll give you one last quick note about the story of that. Fluoride was a hazardous waste material from the fertilizer and the aluminum industries, and they really wanted to figure out a way that it did not have to be a hazardous waste expense in their business models. And they decided to make it in small amounts because fluoride was actually used by the Nazis in concentration camps to help sedate, help people listen and follow directions and be more complacent. And so what we can say is that they did tests about fluoride. They're phony tests. Good nutrition is the single biggest reason why we have good teeth. And I know that there's, again, Western medicine trained dentists out there that think I'm crazy. I have a couple of dentists that I'm pretty good friends with. They think I'm nuts. And I'll continue to talk about it, not to be different, not to be talked about at social gatherings, but because I know the truth. And the truth is in the history of the records of our government. And the guy running the American Dental Association signed off on the bogus tests to say that fluoride helps prevent cavities. And then after he stepped down from that tour, he then became working for Alcoa, the Aluminum Corporation of America, as a lobbyist. Read the 100-Year Lie. Read the Great Barrington Declaration. Here is one of the reasons why I believe there's the race to vaccinate. Because herd immunity is somewhere around 15%, maybe 25% of the people that have the virus. They've created the antibodies, the T and the B cells, long lasting. Because here's the other thing about that vaccination. And they've been getting you, not me, but they've been getting so many of my fellow citizens used to taking the flu shot. Get the flu shot. You got to get the flu shot. The term sheeple has never been more appropriate than right now. And I'm not trying to say these like shock and awe things to you. These are all things that I really truly believe I'm watching play out over and over and over again. There's just something out there that doesn't seem right. Well, this quote unquote medical crisis is not right. We made it the crisis. Something that's 99.99% non-deadly. We've killed more people through hunger and starvation because we haven't been traveling. You know, we just got on a plane. These airports are empty. And I don't like it because I know that people, small businesses are record numbers of small businesses are going away and they're not coming back. We are headed for some really, really, really challenging financial times. And we need to make sure that our faith is strong and our relationships, our community, those people that are support around us, we're stating the truth. We continue to state the truth and we support each other. Right now, I got to go. I appreciate, 25-minute video, me just start talking, no notes, no nothing. And I wish I had my mask ready because I got one of those quote unquote offensive masks, I call them. I think it's called an offensive mask, but I'm going to see if I can't get in this bag right here. Hold please, and see if I can't get this thing out. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. Maybe in the next video I do, I'll show you the mask that I've been wearing. It's worked, and I can still breathe. It doesn't fog up my glasses. And the mask is for you anyway. It's not for me. It's just so that you feel better that, oh, he's got one on. Listen, I hope you have a great, great day. I am James Detroit. And for now, I'm out.